This conference will now be recorded.
Yeah, you're going to call out go through the list.
Okay. Should I
Okay?
start?
Yes, I think so.
Okay. People could just let me know just so I make sure everybody's here.
She can't see, so, well.
Yeah, I
can you
can't see. Sorry.
Okay.
Sarah?
Here.
Patty, I see. Diane?
Here.
Cara?
Yes, I'm here.
And Cheryl?
Here.
Andy?
I see Andy. He's on
Yeah.
mute, but I
Okay.
see him.
Lindsay?
Yeah, I don't think Lindsay's going to be with us.
Okay. Sheila?
Here.
Shannon?
Here.
Chris? Nope. Okay. And Bill. I see Bill. So.
Yes.
I think
Great.
you missed Sandy, but I don't see her.
Oh, sorry. Yes. Is she here?
Not yet.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, so to call this, well, I did. I called it to order already, didn't I? That's great. The first order of business is the approval of the minutes of September 14th. I have a motion to approve the minutes of September 14th.
So moved.
Can I, before we do that, can I make one suggestion, and one edit suggestion, Sue Ellen?
What's that?
On the, I know we don't do that much, but it's
That's
the
okay.
way.
Hey, Patty, if we move it and second it, then you can make your correction,
Oh,
okay?
okay, got it. Thank you.
All righty.
Thanks.
So Diane moved it, and who else seconded?
I second it.
Okay,
Cheryl?
Cheryl seconded it. Okay, Patty.
Thank you. In the first paragraph, Sue Ellen, where we're talking about STEEP, on the third line, it says the STEEP grant application is an application for $92,000 to fund Highland Farm in order to landscape areas near the parking lot, etc. I would just, I know it sounds minor, but I would just change it to say to fund landscaping at Highland Farms, and then delete out in order to landscape. Just because we funded it, to the tune of whatever millions of dollars a few years ago. So just from a word standpoint, I think it sounds better. So for $92,000 to fund landscaping at Highland Farm, delete in order to, and then near the parking lot. That's it.
Okay.
That's fine. Any other adjustments?
Oh yeah, there's one other under the cherry lawn portion where it says $5,000 has been donated from the neighborhood. It should say from a neighbor, not neighborhood. It was from a specific neighbor.
Okay.
And
Which
then
page?
with an
Hang on a
additional,
second. Hold on,
Thanks.
Patty. Where is that? Is it at the end? It's on the third page?
it's on the second page.
Second page. Okay, thank you.
Sure. It says Tilly Pond Park, and then it says Cherry Lawn Park.
Okay, gotcha.
And it's the third line where it says $5,000 donated from, it could just say from a neighbor. And then
Sure.
with an
That's
additional
right. That's fine.
$5,000 donated as needed.
You got that
5,000 donated
by
from
a neighbor?
neighbor to be used as needed.
No,
No,
no.
no. The rest of it stays.
Okay,
With
just 5,000.
Okay, $5,000 has been donated from a neighbor, Take out the word hood, with an additional $5,000 donated as needed. And it was.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, this is the way it was as of when we had our meeting. But yeah, that's more accurate. Thank you.
Mhm.
Any other corrections? Okay, then I make a motion that anyway, then let's see. Let's get this right. Let's vote as corrected, shall we? So all in favor of the minutes as corrected.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, that's unanimous, I believe. Okay,
Okay, great.
thank you, Patty. Thank you, Sue Ellen.
Mhm.
As you both know, a thankless job. Okay, next is a discussion about the Parks and Rec budget. And I think most of you know this. Actually, what I was going to say, I was going to little background for Chris, and he's not with us. So anyway, but you know, our primary things that we do on the committee are as we just talked about the steep grant that was in that last minutes. We report on things that rules assigns to us. We follow the issues that are before the Park and Rec Commission, including special projects. And then we follow the budget. And so this is the beginning of the budget process at the commission. And you'll see, well, you saw in the commission's paperwork that there's another, you know, they revised what they had at the November meeting slightly. And part of the reason for that is the Board of Finance had a small group of its members plus Jack Davis look at the capital, the reserves, the capital reserves with an eye to reducing the number of reserves we have in the budget. And so that affected the way they put together the Park and Rec budget. So they set a ceiling, or you have to have it be requesting at least something that's $100,000 for it to be going towards a reserve, if I'm saying that right. So anyway, where we used to have recurring, we had in the last budget we had equipment that was recurring, and we had trees that were recurring. So now those would not meet that $100,000 threshold. So they would just be in the regular budget. And that's what Pam was describing in her budget notes in her report that she's going to give to the Parks and Rec Commission. And so what she's had to say, anybody, whoever's can tell that that's their background noise, mute yourself, okay? So the Board of Finance removed all reserve accounts from budgets, tree replacement, playground equipment program, and the equipment reserve account. They support the projects, but would like more transparency by requesting each project separately rather than letting the money accumulate year after year, and money sometimes go unspent. So you'll see the same things. They'll just be in the capital, the regular part of the capital budget, I think, and some of the bits put together a little bit differently. So that's the background. So I'll open it up we can start with the operating budget for any questions. I think that was me, sorry. Any questions you folks have about it? I think the thing that jumps out at you is, well, there are 4 or 5 things that she goes through, which we can go through too. The first one is she added seasonal patrol monitor position.
I'm sorry, I'm having trouble hearing you, Adele. I don't know what that noise is in the background.
I think if everybody who's not speaking puts their microphone on mute so it looks red, it'll eliminate all the background noise.
Is this better? In other words, is that background noise coming from me, you think?
I don't know. I couldn't hear what you just said.
No, I think if Diane and Sue Ellen, and as soon as I'm done talking, if we all put ourselves on mute, and Bill as well, and then since Adele's speaking, if we're all on mute, then we won't generate any background noise.
Okay, so I'm not sure if that was me making the background noise, moving my papers around, which is possible. So we'll find that out when you guys go mute. And I go back to the way I was. So let's try this again. Okay, now let me know if you still hear the crazy background noise. Okay, so the things that Pam highlighted in this budget is added seasonal patrol monitor position. In other words, if you look at the security line, which is sort of about not quite half security services on the page that looks like this of the budget, that's what she's referring to. And it went up 36%. And the second one is they added AED maintenance and rescue equipment line for an increase of $2,000, which is about 5 things down. You'll notice that the increase is 200%. It's not a lot of money. 3 is added $15,000 for geese control. They put the geese, I guess they're going to get the dog back because everything else they've done to try to curb the geese hasn't worked. And number 4 was they added $8,000 for concession maintenance and repair at both beaches. So those are the highlights of the changes of the operating budget. Does anybody have any questions or comments?
It's Andy. I was a little surprised to see an increase of this amount, of this percentage amount. Was there any discussion about that?
You mean for the whole budget or just for a particular item?
No, down at the bottom of the second page.
You mean the
3.41%.
Yeah, gotcha. No, I think that I don't have an answer for you. I suspect they'll be talking about it tomorrow night, but I would guess that it's the security monitors that I think that they're going to talk about, that the fact that they think they need to keep them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought that, I remember last year Jamie gave the town hall employees a requirement of a 0 increase. And
Yes.
does anyone know if she's done that again this year or not?
I'm not aware that she has. Yeah, no.
Nobody knows.
No,
Okay.
I'm not aware of that. I mean, this is not a big increase, but it is an increase. You're right.
Right.
Percent, but it was pretty. Oh, wow, it was low last year, I have to say. But it's a good. That's perceptive. I think once the commission makes up their mind on this, then my thoughts was to invite Pam to come like she did last year in January, and she will be able to really answer our questions more than Adele Conniff can.
That would be good. Good
Yeah,
idea.
Yeah. It works well.
I also saw that seasonal and temp salary appears 4 times. Does anyone know why?
They're different positions. I mean,
Okay.
and it really takes somebody who knows the ins and outs of the budgets to explain that to you. I know. So Pam will be able to do it. Some of it, yeah. Some of it's staff in the office. Some of it's staff at the beach, and they have, for various reasons, they have to do them separately. So that's my best guess. Andy.
Pest control the geese?
Yes.
Okay.
That's a company called Geese Relief that the Parks and Rec Department had used for years under Sue, the previous Parks and Rec director. And then when Pam came in, it was such a high budget item. She had reduced it, and it seemed to work for a while. I know she reduced it. She eliminated it at Cherry Lawn because they didn't need it because there were already dogs there. She kept it at Tilly for a while, and then she was very creative with doing the swans, if y'all recall, last year, and everybody thought they were real, and it scared the geese away for a while. But Jim Flynn, the director of Parks and Rec Maintenance, just said we really need the geese reliefs to come back.
Well, maybe some of you have been on the committee a little longer. Maybe like Cheryl recalled that Pam said that she got a dog because she didn't have confidence in this third-party service, and that the dog was going to become a town employee, and there was an employee who volunteered to care for the dog and train him. So I'm wondering what happened to him.
Well, Jamie Gore,
Anybody
who
know?
works
I
for
guess
Pam,
I guess that's Peanut who comes to the Park and Rec Commission meetings, but I don't
that's
know
not a colleague.
about. No, he's not a geese chaser. He's not a geese chaser.
Cheryl, do you
Well,
remember
Mike,
that?
Adele, may I have the floor?
absolutely.
Thank you. Andy, you're right. There were discussions on having the dog come back, and it was Sue Swistek, Patty was her last name, Swistek. That was the previous Park and Rec administrator, director. The neighbors are the ones that had complained mostly about the situation at Tilly Pond Park after the dog was gone, and the geese came back, and there's a lot of problems over there with dogs. Hate to mention that word, but dogs and geese. So then Pam put in the swans, which I thought were real too. Everybody thought they were real until one turned upside down and was floating for 4 days. But they really didn't work. And I had gotten a couple of phone calls from neighbors over there, and they really needed something better than that. So even though the geese are back and they come and they go, I think that this is the best thing we can do is try and maintain that park as best we can,
I
because
agree. Cheryl.
it's getting to be out of control over there too.
It's bad. I walk there a lot. There's a neighbor on Robin Hood Lane who lives right there who has young children, and the geese come off across the street and up her driveway.
Yes.
And
Oh, that's terrible.
video and photographs.
They walk all over the place and they do their business wherever they see fit. So it is an issue over there, and hopefully this will try and resolve it.
It's
Thank
Andy again. I'm not disputing whether the geese are a problem or not. I agree that they are. I'd like to know what happened to the town dog.
Andy,
Sharon, do you know?
That was a wish.
there is a man in town who does have I think it's a German Shepherd. He has it run down there in the front of the town hall a lot. And I don't know, I think at one time he was contacted, if I can get my memory back that far, but I think you need a special kind of dog that I think it's,
Yeah, and Pam was boasting about
Right.
having found that dog.
Well, it's obviously not happening now. So there we go.
I'm going to push on it when we see them.
okay.
Sure, maybe her memory will be better than ours. Anything else on the operating budget, guys?
Adele, sorry, this is my second year, so I'm still new and learning sort of the process and when to interject with comments. So do you want our comments on things we would like to see added, or when is the right time to make those comments?
You go ahead. I mean, I don't think it's a problem. Go ahead. Yeah.
Well, so I think maybe some folks saw the email that I sent. I would love, since they put in $8,000 for concession repair, to think about doing some basic maintenance at the Pear Tree Point Beach bathhouse. It's just, I don't think it needs a lot of stuff, but I don't know when was the last time they did any maintenance over there, but I think it needs mirrors and proper working soap dispensers. And that would be something I would love to see. And I'm curious if there's anybody else that is supportive of that.
Sure. Anybody else want to chime in?
Well, it's Andy. I think that's really a very good point. And I don't think it would take a great deal to replace the faucets and the toilet flush mechanisms and so on, the faucets that have been dripping for years. Cheryl, you're familiar with those, I'm sure.
Yes, I am. I agree. Things have been let go for so long, and right now we don't know where we stand. for the the Pear Tree Point Beach renovation project. We're on hold, as you all know, and we have to wait and see what happens with the pandemic and where we go in the spring if we can get back on track. So in the meantime, if we can put something in the budget to give us some relief down there, I think it's a great idea, Kara.
I see nodding heads.
Adele, is that something where you can give that feedback tomorrow as the chairman, or should Kara do it with another letter? How would you recommend?
I think Cara's did a good job with that letter. It was an excellent letter, by the way. I can do that. Well, let's go through whatever else we're going to talk about. And, it's easy enough to in the comment section to say, a sense of our meeting was, we really would like to see some, more, and it may be in here, by the way, it may be in here that we don't know under those line items what they had in mind. But to say out loud, we really would like to, our committee would like to see some maintenance in the budget for Pear Tree. Okay?
It's Andy, and I think it would.
Specifically for Pear Tree
Yeah.
in the next year to come. But
Right.
Yeah, and maybe some specifics that you all just recommended. You said
Sure.
mirrors, soap dispensers,
Yeah.
whatever else Andy thought.
Faucets, right.
Yeah. Maintaining.
Maybe Adele, you could.
How about water?
Water fountain, Cheryl.
How about water on the outside where you can
drinking fountain.
Yeah, well, I don't think the
Right.
drinking fountain's going to come, but there's no reason why you, because of thank you to COVID, but there's there's an excuse at any rate. But there's no reason why you can't have a water source where people can get fill up a cup with water, other than doing it out of the shower. Thank you very much.
Well, the other thing is I saw that the drinking fountains were functional at Weed Beach this summer. So
Yeah.
I thought it would be, I agreed if it was a COVID thing and the drinking
It was
fountains.
to begin with. It was to begin with, but I don't know. I guess later they must have uncovered them. Yeah.
Yep, they did.
It's
Okay.
Andy, Adele, maybe you could ask the commission if they could give a reaction or a response to Kara's letter. As far as I understand, there was no response at all.
I don't know that that's the way it works, but yeah, I would hope that they would respond to what we're saying now. So, and that's a way of reinforcing her letter. I think they can respond or they can ignore. That's their choice, I think. Sarah, did you have anything you wanted to add? You okay there?
Oh, yeah, no, I was going to ask about Pear Tree since I know that's been out there and I had no idea what the latest was. I knew it was on pause. I just wasn't sure how much information you guys had on it versus the general public. So it's just on pause, right? That's the.
Yeah, it's on pause, but I sent you the information that they sent out to the Pear Tree Beach Building Committee about what's been happening since they've been on pause. Did you see that?
It was that in the last email with all the attachments.
The thing where your eyes glazed over? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I saw it. I just didn't get it. My printer is not currently working, so printing wasn't an option. So
Yeah.
so I'll just have to read it on my computer. Okay,
But a
perfect.
lot of it's background, actually, a lot of that is background because not much has happened since they've gone on pause.
Okay.
But it actually gives you a feel for, what had been going on.
Okay.
So
Got it. Perfect.
if you can drag yourself through it, it's not a bad thing to read.
Yeah, I've never actually even been in the Pear Tree bathroom because it just doesn't even. I'd rather just have my kids go in the car and they're like potty, like the travel potty.
Okay, that's a good one.
That says a lot. See,
It does.
yeah.
You see?
My sense is people want bathrooms more than they want food right now. We should have a clean, functional bathroom with a mirror and running water. So
I wholeheartedly agree with that.
I can't disagree. Does anybody else have anything else to add to the operating?
Just a quick response, Kara. I suggest you email Pam tomorrow on the end of their agenda. It says to email them if you want to speak tomorrow night. So I suggest you do that in the morning so that you can get on the list. I know public comment is up first, you know, before they even discuss anything on their agenda. But it would be a good idea because you sent the letter to follow up in person at the meeting.
Thank you.
Uh-oh.
Cheryl.
Okay.
Well, Kara,
Hello?
were you saying that this is
Okay,
your
guys,
letter, but
hang on
it's
a
the,
second, everybody. Can I just do one thing? So, is it Kara or Cara?
That's so nice of you, Adele. It's Cara. And so
Okay.
I'm a car, not a truck. And now you guys will always remember it's Cara. But I go by both. And that was so sweet of you to ask. So thank you.
Well, if we're going to say it over and over, we might as well say it right. There you go.
I have Bill on my phone, Bill Van Loan. He lost his screen,
Okay.
I guess.
Okay.
So
hey,
he
Bill.
is with us. Can you hear Bill?
Yes,
Okay, good. Thanks, Bill.
thank you.
We
Sticking
could probably
with us.
put you on FaceTime. Want to be on FaceTime?
So let's move on to the.
I don't know what that is.
You're on FaceTime. No, you're not. You went off.
No, I'm on a telephone.
Okay. Yeah, I actually wanted to say something
Okay,
about
sure.
I guess I'm trying to think back when we walked through the parks, and I was thinking about the equipment. I'm talking about the Capitol now. The
Okay,
equipment.
All right, the Capitol, guys. Good. Okay.
I thought there was a lower fee they were talking about, and I remember being a little bit surprised. And I'm looking at this, and it's almost 11,000. I thought it was a bit lower than that,
Okay, which
half.
which one are you talking about?
I'm talking about the equipment for the concessions at both beaches. Does
That's
anybody
not-
remember what Pam
It's not
said?
in the capital budget,
Was that-
Diane.
Does it cost something like 25,000 or?
No. Okay, it's not in,
Mm-mm.
but they do have a proposal here for it, right?
Yeah, obviously they're going to discuss the concession.
Okay.
Equipment.
Does anybody remember what they were talking about, how much at the time? Those of you who walked through that with us?
$3,000 number was thrown out as a purchase price.
This is what the deli guy owns?
Yes, I thought it was around 5 for everything, and I remember saying for everything.
I think it was a lot higher than that.
Yeah,
Well,
it's like 11.
I think
Maybe more. I thought it was for everything new. It was priced like it was all new, and it's all used. I thought Pam Gary put in an estimate of like 20 grand or something.
Yeah,
That's what I recall too.
That was where we started.
Okay.
And then they had a man come
I'm sorry,
in.
I don't have anything
That's
on that
okay.
in my head at the moment.
That's okay. And then they had the fellow come in and give his spiel. And he seemed to think that, why can't I reach for the word, guys? He seemed to think that it should cost considerably less. Okay, that's where the $2,000 to $6,000 came from. Was from the consultant. Thank you.
Okay.
And so that's where that came from. However, as you can see, in the paperwork that we've gotten, the estimates of their negotiations with Uncle's Deli's owner, it's considerably more. And so I guess they will discuss that on tomorrow night and decide what they're going to do. As of right now, it's not in the capital budget. Whether they're going to put it in there or if they're going to try to get the money in a different manner, I don't know the answer to that question right now.
Okay.
but on the capital budget request that we that we have in the commission's packet, it's $66,000 for the tennis, repainting the tennis courts at Weed Beach, which was in there last year.
I'm back on.
Oh, Bill, good.
Okay, I'll close you off.
Okay, so I just said, Bill, that repainting the tennis courts at Weed is back in this year's request. The dredging of the Tilly Pond that the commission talked about at their last meeting, and widening and repaving the main path is in for $82,000. The parking repairs at Woodland is $20,000, and that's there. Cherry Lawn Tennis Court, basically resurfacing it for $250,000. The Cherry Lawn Gazebo roof for $15,000. The stand-on blower for the park crew, $12,000. And the Toro Groundmaster, $7,200, $27,000, for a total of $472,000 for their capital request. Anyone want to say anything?
Yeah, Adele, I must be looking at this the wrong way, because the plan that I have that was sent out before, the total is 571,000.
Well, remember in the packet that you received for this commission meeting, it's has been revised. It's been revised.
Okay, my computer was all screwed up, so I printed this out and didn't get to print that out. I'm sorry. Then you're right.
Okay.
Okay, I'll try and get that new thing tomorrow if I can get the printer and everything to work.
And recall, they also took a large chunk out for the pickleball court.
Correct.
They took it out of the capital budget, since it looks like it'll be like a public-private, but mainly a private donation with the public asking.
But what they had in there, which was why it was a big bunch of money there, Cheryl, was they had building a new one. They had what it would cost to build a whole new, not convert, but build a whole new. And so that they moved out, or I'm not sure if it's still in here or not. I didn't look to see. I don't see it. I don't see it. But they were talked about the converting that one tennis court at Cherry Lawn to for pickleball courts. I was kind of hoping they would put that in the budget personally, just because I don't think it's a big ticket item, and if you want something done, I like to see it in your budget. But never mind, so be it. It's not there at any rate.
That I'm just saying, Cheryl, that could be the discrepancy number.
Yeah.
The difference of last time he's looked at this and this time. Adele, could you define the Grand Master, the Toro?
Have no idea what the heck that is.
Ground Master. I missed that. Like, I don't know if they described what that was when they went through the commission, because I know what the stand-on blower is.
Well, see, here's the thing. I don't think it probably, we saw it on that first iteration of the draft, because that first draft that we saw was before they had to sort of rearrange things due to what the Board of Finance decided. And so now we're seeing things in here like the 550 hook truck that's, down the road, it's in the, it's not for this year, but will be later. Those things weren't on these lists before. So but now they're going to be.
Sorry,
you understand what I'm saying? Yeah.
Are you asking what the Toro thing is? The Toro, is that what your question is? What is it?
Yeah. I mean, I can call tomorrow and ask what it is.
It's Andy. I just looked it up. It's a Ride-'em lawnmower.
They
It's
sit on
a
it.
2-inch lawnmower that's like a small tractor. You can look it up yourself.
Thank you.
I'm still here at eBay for
I'm sure.
$7,500.
I'm sure they'll explain it to us tomorrow night.
You can get one for yourself.
Well, they have a
Adele,
lot more property to cut with Highland. And then if we end up getting the Wee Beach Meadow and Trail, at some point going, so I would support that.
does anybody understand what the benefit is for dredging Tilly Pond? Or what do we get
Yes.
out of it? Yeah,
Yes.
you do know. I want to learn.
How about that? It's a silt pond. So the point of that, it's a little pond there, not the big one, but the little one. And the point of it is to collect the silt. So the silt doesn't collect in the big pond, which would be a lot bigger, more expensive to clean. And so periodically you need to clean out the silt pond so it doesn't go into the other one. And I think at this point the silt is starting to go into the big pond, because this has been in and out of the budget for years. And it's an easy thing to kick down the road. So it probably does need to be done. Just like the tennis courts actually at Cherry Lawn really probably do need to be done. Whether they'll do it all is another question, but they, yeah. So that's what that is.
I'd be interested to know what the breakout cost is for the dredging versus the widening and repaving.
Yeah, it's a thought, isn't it? You remember why the widening and the repaving was in?
The widening and repaving.
Remember that from a couple of years ago?
No, I'm just wondering why it's not separated out, the costs. Like, it'd be interesting. I don't know if Kate will end up asking for the breakdown.
I think we'll probably hear that, but if not, it would be worth. Certainly would be worth.
If you could ask that, because dredging is we need to hire someone, but widening and repaving, our Parks and Rec department may be able to do that.
I don't have an answer for
Public
that.
Works.
Yeah.
And if we're considering resurfacing the courts at Cherry Lawn, the backboard at Weed Beach to me looks unusable. I can kind of say it does look kind of scuzzy, doesn't it? Yeah. Not just aesthetically, it just looks unplayable. And it's been a long time since I've played tennis, but when I went to the courts last year and was just asking around tennis players if they felt like the Weed Beach courts needed to be repainted, the repainting wasn't an issue, but the backboards was something that seemed not functional. So I'd love to know how they made that choice.
And I'll just say also, Adele, that I concur with you on Cherry Lawn. I mean, there's a lot of patching on those 3 lower courts. I don't know if there's a way to do it cheaper than the $250K, but they've been doing a patch job for a while now, and it's all over those different courts. So
it is. That absolutely it is. Plus the paint at Weed is, worn off in spots. I think
do you know if the Weed Beach is just the 3 back or the 3 front, or is it all 6 on that number?
Well, initially last year it was all 6. After all, I think they were all redone at the same time, and it's passed the number of years. I think Sheila asked the question, actually. I think at some point about well, why, and they gave a number of years when you're supposed to repaint them, and they're well past it. But you're asking about which ones were in worse condition. The front ones are in worse condition than the back ones. So that's why I think when the selectmen looked at the budget last year, they removed the back ones and left in the front ones. And then we know what happened after that. So.
And another newbie question, does the resurfacing of the tennis courts happen during tennis season, or is it something that happens really early in spring? Because I'm just thinking about town needs with a few more, maybe another year of the pandemic, and that maybe taking key facilities offline to, I don't know how much work is involved.
I don't really know either, Carl,
Yeah.
I don't know how long it takes, but my guess is that, this is the Parks and Rec Department. They're very sensitive to,
Yeah.
they want people to be able to play them. So I would assume that the weather could be good enough to take care of them before everybody would be dying to play on them, maybe,
But we're on a July fiscal, so can we not do anything until July
correct.
1st and the money is there?
That's
Yeah.
correct. So it would not happen and probably till the end of the season next year, my guess would be, unless it doesn't take very long. And I just don't know the answer to that question.
Or unless they make a budget request from the selectmen and the Board of Finance for a line item.
Yeah, I think these are the kind of questions that Pam will be happy to answer when she comes in January. I hope. Anything else, guys? It's good discussion. So we'll move on then. And I don't know what to say about the weed beach equipment for the town purchase. I guess we need to wait until, they will talk about it tomorrow night and we'll find out where their thoughts are. Like I said, it's not in the capital budget. And it was in the budget last year. So. Let's see here. Okay, that's pretty much it for the budget. So now we'll move on to, that's not ours, hang on a sec. To, current issues before the Parks and Rec Commission that you guys want to talk about. Sheila, are you there?
Yes.
Okay, because you were particularly interested in the field maintenance, weren't you?
The field maintenance?
Practices, the
Organic.
yeah, exactly.
Pesticide?
Organic, pesticides, etc.
Oh, yes. Well, there was one meeting where we heard that we were going to follow the guidelines by pathway pollinators. And I know that group feels strongly that you shouldn't have poisonous fields right beside the area where you're attracting birds, bees, that sort of thing. And it seemed we're not being honest if we say we're doing both, or we don't mention that the fields are not going to follow those guidelines.
Excuse me for interrupting you, but did you get a chance to read Juliet and Deepika's letter that was in the commission packet?
I didn't.
Where they talked with Jim Flynn, and so they've come back with a recommendation, and which is a little bit of a compromise. Yeah, which sounds really pretty good. I think you'd approve, but they aren't going to there isn't going to be any pesticides at Highland Farm, so you don't have to worry about it being pesticides next to the pollinator pathway. So I think you're safe there. But the thrust of it, if anybody else wants to jump in, that's fine. Was that and the commission will discuss. They're going to speak to the commission about this tomorrow night. But what was I going to say? I interrupted myself. They basically would like Jim Flynn to do a pilot program on one of his fields that are heavily used with using organic, and because it is more expensive, so they want to see, and it'll be more than for a year. I got the feeling it would just to see how it goes, and so that's sort of where they left it. They of course firmly believe, as you said, that we should be moving towards organic, but they're willing to they respect his opinions. So anybody else want to hop in? Nope. So we'll see if the commission agrees with them. But I thought they've been having some pretty good discussions about all of that and kind of going in a way that I agreed with, at least. Let's put it that way. So that is sort of that. And then there's the dogs. So who would like to start? Okay, Shannon.
Hi. I feel like I'm pretty informed and like can keep lots of balls rolling. We have a new dog, and my daughter and I wanted to take her down just to experience, just different subsurfaces. And she said, "So where can I take the dog?" And I said, "Or can we take it?" I said, "You know what? Let me look. It's just not super clear." And maybe that's where this conversation may be going. But I do believe we need just a more clear cut, the when, the where, the how. Even, and if I don't understand it, and I'm pretty involved and I'm pretty on top of things per se, I think it needs to be a little clearer. That's just my personal experience.
I thought those letters that we saw today that were sent to Pam, did you see them that came in this afternoon? Yeah, that
I did read those.
It kind of reinforces what you just said, is that people either they don't know, or they don't want to know, or it's just really confusing. But whatever the reason is, it's yeah. The dogs are everywhere, frankly. The dogs are everywhere. Sometimes they're on the lead, sometimes they're not on the lead. I was at Cherry Lawn this afternoon. There was a lady there with 3 dogs that were running around, and all of a sudden I realized, wow, they weren't on leashes, and they were kind of scaring people. So anyway, and she thought she was where she should be.
Good morning when it's wonderful.
Yeah, no, she thought she was where it was okay to do that. So I understand what you're saying.
It's Andy. I read the letters also, and I've long felt that the signs are really very unclear, and they're not posted in a place where it's really quite obvious where dogs are allowed and where they aren't. And I thought the letter from the person complaining made a lot of sense.
And as a quick side note, sorry, I thought you were done. Happy to wait.
He's muted himself, so go ahead.
Okay, so as a quick side note, I did have to drop something off at the high school today, and there I saw a gorgeous, very small banner that with words and pictures very clearly said, if you're on this field, you need to wear a mask and you need to be 6 feet apart, like literally gorge. And I thought, that's great communication, and was completely unconnected to this dog thing. I just thought of it, that those types of seasonal banners that could be put up and pretty, really inexpensively created, leave no room for error. I know it's a little more difficult to where dogs can be versus here on this field, you need to do these 2 things. I know it's a bit more complicated, but again, for a crafty communication person, you can come up with something that's smart and again, leaves no room for anyone not to understand.
Right.
Hi, Sandy.
I really agree with
sorry,
that. Well said.
Yeah, Sandy.
Yes.
Welcome.
Well, thanks. And just to Shannon saying about the high school, I mean, and as you said before, it's the same thing. It's what people want to know, because even up at the high school, they know they shouldn't be there when the kids are in school, and yet they still come while the kids are in school. So again, it's a little bit of an issue that the people don't want to know what they shouldn't be doing.
I know.
Well, they definitely know that. They just don't care. And that's a bigger issue. Right.
And I actually think that in many ways it's the biggest. It's not just about whatever. It's about dogs too, and sometimes they just don't care about what the rules are too. So I don't know. I don't have an answer. I went back and looked. I'm going to get to you, Cheryl. I know you got a lot to say. I went back and looked. We've been talking about dogs for so long. And on the commission has been talking about dogs. And I went back, and 2 years ago we gave a report about this. Well, it was probably, I think it was October, November, and our committee had taken a vote. It was the beginning of the pilot for dogs at the weed beach. And we voted against it 2-8 against the pilot. So that gives you a little background. But I went back all the way to 2014, and there was an interesting comment in one of, because you'll kind of talk about it twice a year, get talked about in April, get talked about in October, because evidently October 1, it used to be you have to get everything done by October 1 if you want it to happen the next year. Even back April 5th, 2015, dog leash policy will remain in place until the issues of enforcement are remedied. And that was 5 years ago. And I get the feeling nothing's really changed. But anyway, that's my 2 cents worth. Cheryl.
Well, I agree with you, Adele. Nothing has changed. I was down there last week. Patty had just left. I think it was a Saturday or Sunday, Patty. We were next week.
I waved to you.
Yeah.
And I was off the beach by 1 o'clock.
Yep. And you had left. And I happened to be on a phone conversation with somebody not got anything to do with this. So I was there for a while. And sure enough, more and more people came. There was probably 5 or 6 people, and they walked right past a sign that said 9 to 1. And they went in and they went to the left. They stayed, most of them stayed over where the dog area is, but they were there after 1 o'clock. I happened to be down there today at Weed, and the Animal Patrol Chip was down there. And he talked to some girls that were walking through the parking lot, and they just kept, as he was talking, I did not ask him what happened with those 2 girls, but I could see what was going on, and he was standing there talking to them, and they completely ignored him and kept walking and left the beach. And then he stopped at somebody else that was walking through the parking lot, and she turned around and came back and got in her car, and it was like 12:15, 12:30. So if she wanted to go, I think the problem is there's so many signs down at Weed Beach that point to the area where the dogs are allowed, but it also says 9 to 1, 9 to 1, 9 to 1, 9 to 1, and nobody wants to abide by that. They moved the sign that was on the front of the gatehouse at Pear Tree and put it up in the telephone pole as you enter Pear Tree, and it says no dogs allowed. And it's not just that they come in to walk the loop, which a lot of people were doing this morning, but then I went over to Pear Tree and there was a dog walking on the back beach with its owner. So, you know, I said it in my report or my letter to the commission last month that I believe the sign should say no dogs allowed all year long, because when I speak to people,
talking about Pear Tree Point.
Well, I'm talking about Pear Tree, and there's no dogs allowed at Weed, so it's very confusing at Weed when you have no dogs allowed and yet you're going to allow them from 9 to 1. So the wording on the sign, as Shannon said, has got to be clearer so people understand. However, no matter how you write it, no matter what you say, people are going to do what they want to do, and they're going to go and do it. And unless we have 24/7 somebody sitting there to either give a ticket or just to let them know the rules and regulations, I don't think anything's going to change. It hasn't changed in years, like Adele said.
May I speak?
Who have I got? Who's which one?
That was Sheila.
Oh, Sheila?
Yes.
We saw you, Sheila, for about 5 seconds, and then you're gone again now. Okay, go ahead.
It's archaic. Well, I would like to see considered, and why not just, and I know people are worried about all the traffic to Henley, just try for 1 month, letting it be as other beaches are, sunrise to sunset. You know, 1 p.m. seems very arbitrary to me. If we were not in pandemic, that would make it impossible for most people who work, any teenagers. You eliminate so many people from enjoying being on the beach with their dog. And if our town can have respect for those people, they might follow the rules more if it weren't so limited to 9 to 1. Also, I go often now with my daughter to the beach in Westport, where people seem to be following the rules that are very clear, posted in many places. They're allowed to be there sunrise to sunset, and there's a $77 fine if you don't follow the rules. So on the one hand, I'm asking for more time, but also more strict in that if we can enforce and a word get out, you're going to be fined if you don't follow the rule, it might work. But we could at least give it a try in January, February. That's all.
Okay, thanks. Diane?
I remember a few years ago when we were talking with the commission, some of us were at the meeting, and this was something that was brought up. And one of the parks in New Canaan had cameras in the trees. And that is basically, when you think about it, how are you going to know who isn't following the rules if somebody isn't there full time? And I'm not sure I'd be wanting to walk around there with cameras in the trees either. But that's the biggest question. How do you know? How do you know? You know, who to find? I mean, you could find one person and that person could say, well, my friend was down here yesterday, or 6 people I knew were down here with their dogs off leash, and you're finding me and not them. It is a little difficult to do that, I think, unless you do put cameras in the trees.
Okay, Shannon and then Patty, okay?
I'm not advocating that, by the way. I'm just saying.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Shannon.
We have cameras in the trees to get the swans. I'm only kidding. Okay. So before we go to the end game of, who's, kind of getting, putting people in doggy timeout, I think we got to do a better job of setting the ground rules. And that's the job of the Park and Rec Committee, to really drive awareness of the rules clearly. And Cheryl, you brought up a really good point. Like that no dogs allowed sign should be covered during the period in which dogs are allowed with the when dogs are allowed rules. It's pretty simple because then people have a consistent place to look for that messaging. And social media is a fantastic way to have a resource, and even websites have a resource for, it's dog season or it's fall again. It's time to allow our dogs back on the beach. And this is a community building effort. We want to be able to do this because it connects people with the outdoors first and foremost. We all need more of that. It connects people and their dogs, which is such an important part of people's lives, and it connects people with other people. So and builds community. So we want this to work, and so I want to err on the side of how can we make it work versus people are jerks, because we can do both of those things a lot, but I'd rather focus on the front. And ask as a committee, could we, say to the team at town hall, look, put together a committee, grab some comms people. I'm a brand marketer, and this is kind of what I do. How can we creatively make this, make these rules known in town so that people can enjoy this, and that there isn't so much energy spent on how it's not working.
Mm-hmm. Oh, put.
Back to my orange. Sorry, guys.
Patty?
Well said. I concur. I would say that I've, like Cheryl, I have gone down. I get out of my car and I take my dogs down there. And it's been wonderful to see the families that are there. By the way, they've all had masks on. I took a bunch of pictures on different days. On Sunday, I would say, Cheryl, the day you were saying that people were there a little later, please recall Saturday was a storming day. We had a lot of rain Friday into Saturday. So if people lingered Sunday, I would say, I said this last year, and I'll say it again this year. Sundays, you know, we have 11:15 mass, so I'm not done till 12:15. And then if I'm watching from home, it's different. I can just go in what I'm wearing. But if I've gone to mass, then I've come home, I've changed. By the time I get down there, I have a very short window. So I would love to see the hours extended longer per what Sheila said. You know, whether it's dawn to dusk, whether it's a few hours longer on a weekend, Saturday or Sunday, or on the weekends. The one other thing I wanted to say was I met two great kids on Friday afternoon because the kids are remote or they're half day, right, Shannon? They get out early on Friday, and they were down with their moms, and both kids said, "Oh, this is so cool. I've never been able to do this because normally we're in school." So I just think if people are braving the cold weather, I was there today. And again, that's across town. You know, I'm normally at Cherry Lawn, but it's a fun thing to do to take the dogs down there. And so it was freezing, but there were people down there enjoying it. And then everyone left at 1 o'clock when I was there. We all left. And I would say, I would encourage if any of us are down there to politely remind people what the rules are. I think is a more effective way to do things. But I concur with everybody's suggestions of better signage. The one other thing I would say is there are people who have been walking for decades that live on near water and on the bay, and they walk their dogs up and down. And first they have to be able to get to the off-leash area by walking in with their dog. So that's a consideration. The other thing is they walk the loop. And I personally think that in the winter when it's freezing, if that's the exercise people are doing in the parking lot. I mean, I live on Hanson. I don't have streets. I mean, I don't have sidewalks, right, Cheryl? I know that when you lived closer to me on Holly, we didn't have sidewalks there. I'm on Hanson. That's a really busy street. So I have to drive. I don't have a pocket park, as they like to say, right near me. So I have to drive to Cherry Lawn or Highland or to the beach. But for the people on near water, they walk, and then they like to do that loop in there, I guess, and then they walk out. So I personally don't see the issue with the dogs on a leash in the winter as part of their walking in the parking lot if it's a loop and coming out. That's my feedback. Thank you.
Patty,
Cheryl.
the only thing I want to say about this, and Shannon, is it can work if there is enough signage but we only have one animal control officer. I keep calling him the dog warden, but one animal control officer in town. And if people from the commission and people from our committee go down there and try and talk to people at times, sometimes people are not receptive to your politeness and your, you know, saying to them, you could get a fine if you go the wrong way. And as far as the bay goes, the bay can come in from their side and their beach, and they walk right straight through. I've seen numerous times they've come right across from their beach now that this is all an open, nice area. The only issue I have is sunrise to sunset is the month in which that would take place. January, February, maybe March. But if the weather's really nice and people start going down to the beaches in March, oh, he's adorable.
Oh my goodness.
You just got us. Sorry, Cheryl. Keep going.
Not fair.
Oh, he's so cute.
It's
Yeah, you gotta get your dog. Yeah.
But if you when the weather breaks, and if you do sunrise to sunset, and the weather breaks in March, and people go down and sit on the beach like I have been known to do, and then this year all the way into November, what was it? A couple of weeks ago, it was 70 degrees. So
yeah, that was
if you're gonna do, just a minute, Patty, if you're gonna do a sunrise, sunset situation, if the commission were to do it, you have to just maybe do it January and February. And then you have to have specific signage and patrolling that area so that people know, okay, you're out now, you can't do this. I mean, everyone, and then what I said in my letter to the commission is every one of our parks are open to dogs, every one of them, except the beaches. And sometimes I think that, you know, there's got to be a place for people to go that don't have dogs or want to sit without dogs running around and everything else. I don't walk well. And I would be afraid if a dog came up to me and was off leash, because if it knocks me over, I'm in trouble. So there's a lot of people that go down to Pear Tree with walkers and crutches after hip replacements, knee replacements, and whatever. And they do their therapy down there all year long. And it's just a different vibe down there than it is at Weed. And Weed has the playground, and there were kids on the playground today in the freezing cold.
It's an enclosed playground, but yes, I'm not necessarily advocating for sunrise to sunset, because I do think that hours set allow people who aren't comfortable around dogs to say, hey, I'm not going to go during that time, but I will go later. I personally think we need to keep it through March, because that's how it's been for the last 2 years. And I would advocate to continue it through March this time. It's still really cold. It might be a rare day or so where it's warm. And again, the people are down to the side, but I would say, you know, it's such a short period of time. And hey, Cheryl, you're usually in Florida for like the whole winter. So we'll see what happens this year, though.
You just never know where I'm going to be.
Cheryl, thank you for those thoughts. I don't think it should be your job to have to tell those folks what, and no one should be rude, absolutely, but you shouldn't have to tell them. Do you know what I mean? Like, the job should be done by the communication of the great Parks and Rec. They can do that. I hate to have you in that position.
Well, not just me, it should be anybody on the committee and the commission that knows the rules and regulations and basically says, you know, you really aren't supposed to be walking your dog over here by the tennis courts. And if, in fact, the dog patrol officer comes down there, you are liable for a ticket.
But the communication is clear and the signage is clear. People should be able to follow it, right? And I would love extended hours and find that happy medium, because I agree, you know, when the weather gets nice and people want to use the beach for the beach, it's time for beaching, right? It's not time for dogs, but that you find a happy medium where everyone, you know, can get good use and feel safe doing it.
I agree.
Okay, guys.
And sorry. And I'm not a dog person. I didn't grow up with dogs, but now I love them. So I'm coming.
Okay, guys. Anything else? And what would you like me to say about that to the commission? I have to say this, folks. I do have to say this, is that I have not been down to Pear Tree Point once in the winter that somebody hasn't been in there with their dog. Every single time. And every time and people don't follow the rules. I wish they did. Maybe if we make those signs better, like Shannon says, maybe if we do a better job, or maybe if we change the rules, like we were discussing. Maybe that'll work. But right now, nobody's paying attention to anything. Seriously.
Is there actually a fine? Do you get fined?
Yes, there is.
How much is it?
I'm not sure what it is, though. Yes, who's talking to me? Is that Bill? Yes. Yes.
Bill.
Yes, Bill.
Is the Norotan Bay Club allowed dogs on its beach?
I don't know. I don't know whether they allow it
Does
or
the Norotan Bay Club allow dogs on their beach?
I don't know the answer to that question.
I mean, why should Norotan Bay people need to go to Weed Beach when they got the Norotan Bay Club where they usually all belong?
No idea. Can't answer that one.
Maybe they should than have a membership for the winter to walk dogs on their beach.
Right, moving on, please,
Thank you.
Adele.
Okay, have we exhausted dogs? I just want to give everybody their opportunity.
I
I
want to
don't
eat
know.
dinner.
Now, what I'm going to do is say, let me see here.
Do you want
Right
us
on
to text you comments or, I mean, email you our like bullet points of anybody who said something?
If you'd
Yeah.
like to, if you'd like to. We already spoke a little bit about the concession equipment. I don't have anything else on my list. Is there anything else that's up before the commission that you guys want to talk about?
I'd like to say one thing. The woman who wrote me a letter, and Cheryl, I don't know if she reached out to you, is the woman who lives across from Tilly Pond about the geese and where the geese are walking up her driveway on Robin Hood Lane, and it's so bad. I'm thrilled to see that money is in the budget for pest control, but we need to do something now. So if we could give that feedback, so whether you want me or Cheryl to say that at the meeting tomorrow, or if you want to include that, Adele, in your comments. And I'm happy to forward you the letter she had sent me.
Yeah, why don't you forward the letter? That'll remind me.
Sure, I can forward it to the whole committee if you want. Or for you, and you can send it to me.
The person that reached out to me, that was someone else on
Lakeside?
Sedgwick and, well, what's the side road there?
Lakeside?
Lakeside. I couldn't think of the name of it. Lakeside.
Oh,
It's
it's
bad.
horrible. Yeah,
It's bad.
I live right here, just at the flashing light.
Oh, right.
You can't even take a step without stepping in.
Yeah.
Stepping in. And to be honest, Highland had a similar issue, probably in the fall. And I was there one day. A couple days. It was horrible. Then I went back, and there was some sweep that was done, and it was all cleaned up. It was magical, but it's really yucky. It's just, and Tilly was, I didn't comment on it earlier. I've lived here for 17 years. So much better when geese patrol was there.
Yeah.
And as I recall it, it was, clearly, and this committee probably saw it as well, an expense thing. I think those swans cost like $11.25. We knew down to the quarter. They were very inexpensive. I also thought they were real, but they were really ineffective. And it makes, Tilly has taken down a ton of trees. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but there's some really beautiful kind of open space now on the Sedgwick side that's quite fantastic and really cleaned up. So it's really, it's a wonderful place. It's only getting better, but the geese refuse is just, it's horrific.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Before July would be a
If
very
you
good
had
point.
phrase
But also, it
It's
wasn't
a public safety issue. Like it's a public
It's-
health
So it's
issue.
more than that. The dogs eat it too, and they step in it, and we've had ours bring it into
Yeah.
the house from there. My husband walks the dog every morning at Tilly Pond around a couple of times, and it is kind of messy.
To be fair to Pam, it wasn't just, she didn't just do the swans, the fake swans. There were
Oh, yeah,
lights,
I know.
there were
Yeah.
lights and things that they put in. It was a
Yeah.
whole, but
Yeah.
they worked for a little while,
right.
and then
You're
they
right.
told her, well, you need to do it the whole season. Well, then she just,
Yeah.
So they didn't work. They worked briefly and then they didn't
to
work.
try.
So
Good
yeah,
to try.
They're
try.
pretty. If we own them,
Exactly.
put them back just for visuals.
So I don't have anything else, guys. If there's nothing else that you want to talk about, and we've talked about everything that I had on my list. So if there's any other new business, let me know. Otherwise, I'm ready to adjourn if you are.
I'll make a motion. Are
I
you calling
second
it a
that.
motion?
Second.
Second.
Patty make a motion, and I guess Bill, it's either Bill or
Second.
Andy. Second, Bill. There we go. All in favor? Bye.
Aye.
Second.
Bye,
Bye.
everybody.
Bye.
Everybody.
Merry Christmas.
Have a wonderful
Bye.
Christmas.